Atula, now see, today is the 30th. See, we're already on the last day of this month.
Sorry, we are taking a short break at this point.
Break?
This is Talk with Atula. Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Why the unscheduled break?
I forgot that today's the 30th. There are some urgent transactions.
Transact wherever you are on your mobile phone via the People's Wave mobile banking app or People's Wave internet banking facility. Join the People's Bank digital banking revolution now.
Need to pay a bill or do a money transfer? Just do it during the next break.
People's Bank digital banking, your ultimate convenience.
In a few moments, the news.
People's Bank digital banking, your ultimate convenience.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Ramesh Piris and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. The CEB chairman issues an apology and withdraws controversial statement at the COP. The Prime Minister says Sri Lanka may be compelled to buy more oil from Russia. 173 prisoners to be released on Poson Full Moon Poya Day. The UN warns Sri Lanka could face a full-blown humanitarian emergency. The Immigration and Immigration Department says its head office and other regional offices will be open tomorrow. China assures support to jointly tackle Sri Lanka's crisis situation. The UK relaxes travel advisory to Sri Lanka. On news overseas, Japan, the US and South Korea agree to resume joint military drills to counter North Korea. In sports news, it's cricket, the third edition of the LPL to commence from 31st of July 2022. Local stories in detail. The chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board, MCC Ferdinando, has apologized unconditionally over the statement made by him at the COPE meeting regarding the awarding of the Mana wind power project to Indian conglomerate Adani, and says he wishes to withdraw the statement, which is totally incorrect. Issuing a statement last night addressed to COPE Chair Dr. Charita Herath, the CEB chairman says that he was compelled without limitation to express the word Indian Prime Minister due to unexpected pressure and emotions during the discussion. During a meeting of the Committee on Public Enterprises at the Parliamentary Complex on Friday, the CEB chairman claimed that the tender for the wind power plant in Mana had been given to India's Adani Group as a result of the pressure exerted by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Ferdinando, who is the former Secretary of the Ministry of Power, told the committee that the President had informed him to award the tender to the Adani Group as there was pressure from the Indian government to do so. However, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa issued a statement yesterday denying these allegations of undue authorization for wind power project. The Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, in a wide-ranging interview with the Associated Press on Saturday, said the island nation may be compelled to buy more oil from Russia as the island nation hunts desperately for fuel amid an unprecedented economic crisis. The Premier said he would first look to other sources but would be open to buying more crude from Moscow. Western nations largely have cut off energy imports from Russia in line with sanctions over its war in Ukraine. The Prime Minister Wickremesinghe also indicated he would be willing to accept more financial help from China despite his country's mounting debt. He acknowledged that Sri Lanka's current predicament is of its own making and said the war in Ukraine is making it even worse. Premier Wickremesinghe stressed that dire food shortages could continue until 2024. He said Russia had also offered wheat to Sri Lanka. The Ministry of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms says that a total of 173 prisoners are expected to be released on the occasion of the Puthon full moon Poya Day. The prisoners will be released under a special amnesty on the recommendation of the Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. Accordingly, steps have been taken to release 141 detainees due to the abolition of their fines and another 32 detainees due to the reduction of 14 days. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
Continuing with the local stories, the United Nations warned that Sri Lanka's unprecedented economic crisis could develop into a dire humanitarian crisis with millions already in need of aid. The spokesman for the UN humanitarian agency OCHA, Jens Larke, said the UN is concerned that this could develop into a full-blown humanitarian emergency, and we take action to address that concern. He said the UN and its partners are appealing for $47 million to address the immediate needs of the 1.7 million of the most vulnerable people and those most affected by the crisis. UNICEF's representative in Sri Lanka, Christian Skugg, also warned that the situation was dire, with 17% of children under 5 in the country already malnourished and stunted before the crisis. China says it is ready to continue to work with Sri Lanka to jointly tackle risks and challenges and help Sri Lanka overcome the current difficulties, ease the debt burden and realize sustainable development. This was mentioned during a discussion between Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs of the Foreign Ministry, Liu Jingsong, and Ambassador of Sri Lanka to China, Dr. Palitha Kona, recently. During the discussion, Mr. Jingsong said 70 years ago, China and Sri Lanka upheld the spirit of independence, braved external pressure, and reached the Rubber Rice Pact on the basis of equal consultation and mutual benefits, setting an example of mutually beneficial cooperation between different types of countries. Meanwhile, Mr. Kona said, Sri Lanka has always pursued an independent and non-aligned foreign policy and opposed power politics and bloc confrontation, and thanked China for mobilizing all resources possible to provide emergency humanitarian assistance at the most difficult time in the country. The United Kingdom on Friday relaxed the travel advisory issued to its citizens arriving in Sri Lanka, announcing that its Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office no longer advises against all but essential travel to the island nation. However, a notice issued by the UK government noted that the economic situation in Sri Lanka is challenging, with shortages of basic necessities including medicines, cooking gas, fuel and food, because of a shortage of hard currency to pay for imports. The statement went on to urge its citizens in Sri Lanka to be vigilant, avoid any demonstrations or large gatherings, and follow the advice of the local authorities. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. The CEB chairman issues an apology and withdraws controversial statement at the COP. The Prime Minister says Sri Lanka may be compelled to buy more oil from Russia. 173 prisoners to be released on Puthon full moon Poya Day. The UN warns Sri Lanka could face a full-blown humanitarian emergency. The Immigration and Immigration Department says its head office and other regional offices will be open tomorrow. China assures support to jointly tackle Sri Lanka's crisis situation. The UK relaxes travel advisory to Sri Lanka. That ends the local news.
Transact wherever you are on your mobile phone via the People's Wave mobile banking app or People's Wave internet banking facility. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On the main news story, although the government has declared tomorrow, Monday, 13th of June, as a public holiday, the Bathramulla head office and other regional offices of the Department of Immigration and Emigration will be opened as usual. The decision was taken in accordance with the instructions given by the government to maintain the essential services without any hindrance. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, an online system has been introduced by the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited to get information on the type of fuel that is available at the nearest filling station. They requested people to visit the website www.fuel.gov.lk before getting into queues. All the relevant information will be uploaded to the website by the CPSTL by 9 a.m. daily, and the time will be shown in 24-hour clock format. That ends Watchlight. Taking a look at the world news, the headlines. Japan, the US and South Korea agree to resume joint military drills to counter North Korea. The EU executives to finalize opinion on Ukraine membership. Protesters call for gun control laws in US. The defense ministers of Japan, the United States and South Korea have held in-person talks to the sidelines of the Shangri-La Dialogue, an Asian Security Forum in Singapore. Japanese Defense Minister Kishi Nobuo, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and South Korean Defense Minister Lee Jong-sup met in the first three-way meeting since the inauguration of South Korea's new government and the first such face-to-face meeting since November 2019. In a joint statement that followed, the defense chief strongly condemned North Korea's repeated ballistic missile launches, saying they clearly violate UN Security Council resolutions. The defense chiefs agreed to resume joint military exercises, which have been suspended since December 2017 to deal with North Korea's missile launches. The European Union's executive body will soon finalize its opinion on Ukraine's request for membership. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen gave a news conference jointly with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky after a meeting in Kyiv on Saturday. She said the discussion with him enables the Commission to finalize the assessment by the end of the coming week. All EU members would have to agree to grant Ukraine candidate status, which is a starting point for Ukraine in negotiation of membership. Protesters have gathered in hundreds of places in the United States calling for a stricter gun control as mass shootings continue to take place in the country. In May, an 18-year-old suspect shot and killed 10 people at the supermarket in New York State. Later in the month, 19 children and 2 adults were killed by an 18-year-old in an elementary school in Texas. Thousands of people came to Washington on Saturday and demanded that lawmakers approve gun control bills. Back to the headlines of the world news. Japan, the US and South Korea agreed to resume joint military drills to counter North Korea. The EU executives to finalize opinion on Ukraine membership. Protesters call for gun control law in US. That ends the world news. And on development news, Sri Lanka's most comprehensive development regulation, the Development Control Regulations introduced by Port City Colombo, was gazetted recently and is now being enforced. An awareness program on the DCR conducted by the Colombo Port City Economic Commission was held at Port City Colombo last Thursday. The DCR was introduced by the project company Czech Port City Colombo in 2018. It was prepared by Singapore-based Subrana Jurong with technical assistance of the UK-based prominent engineering consultancy firm Atkins. The DCR was incorporated to the Port City Master Plan, which was designed by a Sweden-based planning consultant, Sweco. The DCR was further evaluated by the Urban Development Authority of Sri Lanka and related government agencies before it was gazetted. That ends the development news. Up next is the sports news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
And in sports news, it's cricket. The third edition of the Lanka Premier League will be held from 31st July to 21st August 2022. Sri Lanka Cricket stated that the tournament will be held at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo and the Surya Vava Stadium in Hambantota. The preliminary matches of the 5-team tournament will be played at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo, while the other matches will be played in Hambantota. There will be 24 matches in the entire tournament, and the registration of international players will begin soon. That ends sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's leading private sector bank, HNB plc, expanded its Walk the Talk initiative to promote a more eco-friendly, healthy and economical mode of transportation among its employees on World Bicycle Day in a bid to encourage simple interventions with major potential to reduce the carbon footprints for the bank and its employees. In that regard, HNB is also working to further promote cycling by partnering with health and wellness experts to raise awareness and educate employees on the remarkable health benefits of cycling. As a first step, HNB will also establish a special bicycle parking base at its head office for employees and customers who travel by bicycle. That ends business news.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic News, courtesy of
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
On economic news, the Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, states that fuel will have to be provided for a ration system in the future. Addressing a media briefing convened by the Ministry of Power and Energy, he said that steps would be taken to give priority to the provision of fuel for public transport and industry. The minister said the last fuel tanker purchased from the Indian Loan Assistance will arrive in the island on the 16th. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
And finally, taking a look at the weather report, the Department of Meteorology forecast showers to occur at times in the Sabaragamu province in Kandy and Nuwara Eliya districts. Several spells of showers will occur in western and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Matra districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in Uva province and in Batikla and Ampara districts during the afternoon or night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. That ends the weather report. And to conclude this bulletin of news, the headlines again. The CEB chairman issues an apology and withdraws controversial statement at the COP. The Prime Minister says Sri Lanka may be compelled to buy more oil from Russia. 173 prisoners to be released on Poson full moon Poya Day. The UN warns Sri Lanka could face a full-blown humanitarian emergency. The Immigration and Immigration Department says its head office and other regional offices will be open tomorrow. China assures support to jointly tackle Sri Lanka's crisis situation. The UK relaxes travel advisory to Sri Lanka. In news overseas, Japan, the US and South Korea agree to resume joint military drills to counter North Korea. In sports news, the third edition of the LPL to commence from 31st of July 2022. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.